Hey fellow investors, welcome back to another video, and today I would like to share with you my free international dividend portfolio tracker. It's a tracker that I've created myself and I've been using it for several years now. I personally really think that this is quite a unique dividend tracker because it distinguishes itself in two fronts. One, it translates all your holdings and dividends back into your local currency. This comes in very handy if you are having a diversified portfolio with stocks listed on different stock exchanges. Think about being a Dutch investor having American-based stocks or German-based stocks. But it is also automated as much as possible, and it comes with some pretty insightful visualizations that I will show you today. This should easily show you in a single overview the performance of your dividend portfolio, and the visuals are tailored to what you need as a dividend investor. Last but not least, it's in a Google Sheet, so just treat this as a foundation. It's easy to copy it and then build out your further insights that you want to have on top of this. So in today's video, I will briefly introduce you to the dividend tracker and then I'll show you how to actually use it. This means that the video might also seem a little bit lengthy, but I would advise to just skip to the part that you're interested in. You can do that by going to the description of this video on YouTube and click on the chapter related to your topic of interest. For instance, the step-by-step instructions. But hey, before we start, may I ask you to like and subscribe to this video in case you find this video very helpful? Every single like is very appreciated because it helps me to grow this channel. See you on the inside! Okay, so let's get started with a brief walkthrough through the template. I will show you what the highlights are of the template so that you can make your own decision whether you want to use this for your own purpose. So what's important to know, at the bottom you see different worksheets. The first worksheet gives you all the instructions of how to use this template, but there is also a blog post which I will show you later that also provides you all the instructions. So what are the nice things here? I mentioned in the introduction about the insights that you can generate. So on the dashboard you see the most important values that you have. For me, my most important is my FIRE meter, which stands for Financial Independence Retire Early. As you can see, I would need, for instance, up to, let's say, 20,000 euros in annual dividend income. At the moment, it's at 819, and it shows you nicely here in the graph how far it is. As you can see, based on the data in this template, which is, by the way, fake data just for the purpose of this video, we still have a long way to go. At the same time, you can see what the current portfolio value is, but also how much cash we have contributed to it. This is cash that you transferred from your own bank account to your broker account, like for instance the Giro. It's often hard with dividend reinvestments and dividends coming in to understand really what your net cash contribution was. This is what it's showing. But at the same time, it showed you how much dividends you have received so far, after tax. It shows you your current portfolio yield, in this case is 3.3%, and your unrealized gains. So if you would sell your whole portfolio, what have you earned on top of that? What you can then see is different graphs that shows you your dividend income year over year. So you can see here, for instance, in 2020, based on the data in the sheet, we earned approximately more than 600 euro in dividend income. 2021, it's now August, still has some room to go. We'll probably beat it if we are on track compared to the 2020 figures. So it shows you how far you are now. At the same time, it shows you your year-over-year dividend income per month, because this is usually a really nice way to compare, because dividend stocks typically pay their dividends in the same months. Anyway, you get the point. You see it here also for its full portfolio life. On the right side, you will see how your portfolio value was developing over the years. It shows you your projected annual dividend income per sector. In this case, you can see that the biggest sector in the portfolio is consumer staples, but also shows you your sector allocation. Then there are some other graphs that shows you what the biggest value in your portfolio is. In this case, it could be Danone and Apple. What the tax-adjusted yield is per the positions in the portfolio, and which have received the most total dividends so far. Last but not least, compared to your portfolio goal, which you can define somewhere else, you can see how far you are on track of this over the months that have been passed so far. So this is a brief overview of the dashboard, and as you can see, all the money that you see here is as per the local currency that you have defined, in my case, euros. Although maybe my stock portfolio might have 50 to 60% in US dollar. Now, how do we get to this? Here you see the dividend portfolio sheet. It is a more detailed view on your portfolio. You see all the tickers and the companies and the company names that you own here. Everything in white is what you define yourself, and everything in the other color is what is automatically populated based on the data that we were able to pull from Google or from other templates. It shows you here what the cost basis is per stock, per position, shows you all the dividends you have received so far, in this case in euros, current value of the position, the annual dividend income, forward dividend income, but it also shows you other metrics like the dividend income allocation, so how much of this position is contributing to your whole dividend income. It's important to look at that because you don't want a single position to be, for instance, 30% of all your dividend income, because if they cut your dividend, then you're screwed, so to say. Last but not least, it shows your yield on cost and also your current yield and also your tax adjusted yield. So after paying the taxes, what would be left? Now, the dividend portfolio overview pulls this all from the transaction sheet. I will go later into the instructions to show you how this works. But here again, you log per line item, exactly when the dividend came in, from which stock, which brokerage account, what the dividend was. And you do the same for when you buy stocks and when you transfer some money to your account. This is your log that you are probably mostly working in, and it's really easy to do. You can easily add single new line items as per the transactions in your portfolio. Now, all this information is heavily automated, and you do this, for instance, via the reference data sheet. This is a sheet you maintain only once in a while. So if you create a new position, you can add some stock tickers here. You define here what the portfolio currency is, and this translates everything then into the currency that you use, whether it's USD, Euro, Danish crown. This is where you set the global setting. You list your brokerage accounts and you give an estimate of what your portfolio value should be for you to retire early. So this was a brief overview of the sheet. If you're interested in using it, the instructions are on the first page, but also on my blog europeandgi.com. I will share the link in the description as well, where you will find a whole detailed overview and every step-by-step instruction that you will need. And that's also something that I'm going to show you here in the video, because some people have requested this because they like a video more to see how I'm actually using it. But hey, if you don't want to watch any further, you can stop here. The instructions are available. How to get the sheet, it's really simple. You just sign up. You leave your email because it allows me to build a following, and you will be redirected to a page where you can straight away download and copy the template, or you will receive at the same time also an email where you get the link to the page as well. So if you don't want to see further instructions, this is it. Grab your copy here. But for the others, hey, let's get started on the instructions. To be able to start configuring the template, it's important to take notice of the following color scheme. Cells indicated in white are supposed to be populated by you. Colored blue cells are headers, you should not edit those. In red are totals, and in gray are calculated values. Please don't update calculated values unless you know what you're doing, because it might screw up the template. Okay, so let's go to the reference data sheet. So let's take the assumption that we want to add some new position to our portfolio. So in this case, I would like to add a new position into Koninklijke DSM, which is trading in the Netherlands. So what is important here, you need to look up the ticker symbol, and you can do this just by going to Google and look up Koninklijke DSM share price. In this case, I know it by heart. So let's edit here. AMS from Amsterdam, DSM. Now, you will see it's not sorted. I'm a bit of a freak like that, so I would like to sort this. It's important to not do it via the header, because you will sort all these columns as well. Just select all the tickers, right-hand mouse button, and say sort. What you can do now is from A to Z, from small to big, and we will see now Amsterdam DSM is added. So this is the first topic you would need to do. List all your tickers here and sort it. As mentioned earlier in the video, when giving a full highlight, you can add here the portfolio currency. It shows the most popular ones. You can add your own as well. Where do we get the currencies from? We get them from some of the lookup tables here. You see here all the countries like Albania, Austria, and all the ticker symbols are listed behind it. This is what it takes its data from. So in this case, it's already defined as euro. I want to keep it like euro, so no change is required, but you can change it here to any of the other. Also your brokerage account. So let's assume that you have another stockbroker. Let's take Saxo Bank. Then you can add it here and it will show up later into the pick lists of the transaction sheet that you will need to go forward. Here also we are assuming that we need 1 million euro to be able to retire early. You can change it here also to, let's say, 600,000. And all the statistics that on the dashboard will be updated accordingly. Anything else here, I recommend not to change. These are all tables that are being populated to support the pick lists in the G sheet. So if you want to use another approach to sectors, so I use the one, I don't know the standard anymore, but these are 11. There are some others as well. You can update it here. If you want to have other transaction types still, you can update it here as well. If you want to change the name, you can do it here as well. But please watch out, it's being used in other calculated values, so it might screw up the template. Countries here as well, you can add some. If you are having investments in countries like Hong Kong that are missing, just add it here, put the tax rate, and you should be fine. So this is all what you need to do here. By the time you hit 2033, you might want to add another year, 2034, but I think we're good for now for the upcoming 13 years when it comes to this template. So this is how you configure the reference data sheet. Let's go to the next step. So the second step to do is to add the stocks to the portfolio worksheet, dividend portfolio worksheet, this one here. As you can see, the test data that is in here shows already a lot of stocks, but in the former step, we have added a new ticker, a new company called Koninklijke DSM. So what we can do here now, we can select it here, AMS DSM. It will automatically pop up the name of the company. We bought it in the Netherlands or on the Dutch stock exchange. So it's important to use the country of the stock exchange here, not necessarily the country of the company. Think about Alibaba. If you take the ADR, you should select here the United States and not China. Now in this case, DSM, I believe it's nowadays, well, what shall we give it? It's not industrial, it is a materials company because it's now into nutrition. What you can see here now, it will automatically update the share price. And this is actually a good example. What you see here, the formula has stopped here. So in case this ever happens, just drag it down and it will automatically fix it. So in this case now, you will see that the euro is added as the currency for this ticker, and it takes it from the fact that it's based on the Netherlands. We don't own any shares yet, so from that point of view, you will not see anything here. Okay, the sector here is being used on the dashboard later to calculate the projected annual dividend income per sector. So it's also important to have the sector right because it allows you also to check your, your allocation strategy per sector, and it shows you this nicely in the dashboard and the figures. Other than that, you don't need to do anything here. All the information is automatically populated, but again, if you see some blank cells, it might be because either the formula is not there or there's no data yet and it just doesn't show it yet. So in this case, nothing needs to be done further. It will be all automatically updated later. So this was it. Let's go to the third step. In step 3, it's important to add the dividends per share for each position in the stock portfolio. Why is this important? You want to calculate your Dividend yield, you want to understand how much of it will be paid on what basis, is the quarterly basis, annual basis. So that's why this sheet is really an important one for a dividend growth investor. So taking the same example of Koninklijke DSM, we will add here the ticker, Koninklijke Amsterdam DSM. It automatically pops the name again, and now we need to know what the annual dividend is. When it comes to European stocks, it's really not reliable to use any of the online data sources. The data we get is often wrong. Hence, what I typically do for European stocks is I go to their investor relations website and look up the dividends. In this case, we can see that DSM has kept their dividend flat between 2019 and 2020. But we also see that the dividend they pay per share is €2.40. So in that case, we add here 2.40. Dividends are declared in euro. Why are you still putting the ticker here? Because there are companies like Royal Dutch Shell that pay their dividends in American dollars, not in euros, while the share price is, for instance, listed in euros if you take the Amsterdam version and in pounds or pence if you take the British version. In this case, it's an annual dividend. So here you go. It now knows that it's 2.40 euro in annual dividends. So it's now able to calculate the dividend yield per share. And this will be visible after we have entered some transactions. So let's start doing that. So to do that, we go to the transactions worksheet, as you can see here at my arrow. If you're a new investor, totally new dividend growth investors, then the first thing you will need to do is transfer cash to your broker account. I will show you now how to do that, but before I go there, if you don't know which stockbroker to choose, have a look at the Hero. It's my main stockbroker that I'm using already for many years. I did an extensive review and I will put the link into the description of this video. If you use one of the links in this post also to create an account, then I will receive a small fee in return, commission in return from the Hero, and that's how you support me and help me in keeping this blog online. Okay, so let's get back here. Let's assume that I'm going to transfer now 3,000 euro to the Hero. So what I will do, it is today 10 August. I will enter here the date. I will add here, as you see, one of the options is cash transfer. What it will do now automatically, it will color code the cells that I need to fill. So I'm sending it to the Hero. And I'm adding here that I have been transferring 3,000 euro to the Hero. This will now show up in the dashboard as a total increase of the cash. Okay, so this is how you add cash, but now we want to buy something, of course. So let's assume now that from this 3,000 euro, we are going to buy some shares in Koninklijke DSM. So we do this at the same day, on the 10th of August. We buy and we use the ticker DSM and we use the money on the account from the Hero. Let's assume that we have bought 10 shares of 175 euro each, because it's approximately trading like that, for a transfer for a commission fee of 5 euro. In this case, it will tell you now that the total stock mutation here is 1,755 euros. And you will also see this position now into your dividend portfolio here at the sheet. So Koninklijke DSM that we just created, it has a current value of 1,757.50 euro based on the current share price. You can see the cost basis that we have. You can see the annual forward dividend income in euros. You can also see the portfolio allocation to this stock and what the dividend income allocation, so how much of all my dividends is coming from DSM. Last but not least, you will see the yield on cost and the tax adjusted yield. So this is the impact of adding a new acquisition to the portfolio via the transaction sheet. Okay, so now we also would like to sell some shares. Let's do it from Unilever. So first, let's show you how many shares we have in Unilever. We currently own 47 shares in Unilever. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to add another transaction here. It's on the 10th of August. I will hit sell. It's for AMS Unilever from the Bink account, so that we take it from that one. I will sell 2 shares, so I should end up on 45. And what is important now is to put a minus here. This will make sure it will deduct it later. The price that it was trading for today is around 48 euro, and let's assume that the fee is again 5 euro. So as you can see, it reduces it now with another 91 euro. Let's go to the dividend portfolio now. You will see here that the impact of this has been now that there are now 45 shares in the portfolio. This is how you show that there was a reduction. Okay, so what I've shown you now is how to add a cash transfer, how to buy things, how to sell things. But the real fun is, of course, in the dividends. At the same time today, we will receive some dividends from Royal Dutch Shell. So what are we going to do? We add, of course, the date. We say dividend. We say Royal Dutch Shell. And as you can see, the columns got automatically updated because this is not a stock transaction. We get the Royal Dutch Shell dividends on the Bink account, and we received a dividend after tax. So I'm talking here about the net income of 25 euro. What it will do now, it will update all the stats in the dividend portfolio, and it will tell you that, for instance, the total dividends that we have received in Royal Dutch Shell is now 25 euros more. It will also show on the dashboard that we received some dividends in August. And here you can see the 25 euros in the dividend from Shell are displayed here. This is the thing you will probably do the most once your portfolio grows, and that's adding dividends as soon as they come in. I love this one. This kind of updates for me is really what I love as a dividend investor. Okay, but there will be cases that you want to reinvest the dividend. So let's say that on the Bink account, I've got my automatic dividend reinvestment plan activated. So in this case, I want to actually reinvest those dividends again. And this 25 euro allowed me at the Bink to purchase 1 additional share. This typically happens on the same day, the transaction. So in this case, what I will do, here we got the dividend received. I will just buy 1 share from Royal Dutch Shell at the Bink account. I know it's 1 share. I know that the price is currently trading at 70.25, and that's also what I got from my statement from Shell, that it reinvested dividends and share price of 70.25, and in this case it only costed 1 euro as a commission for reinvestment of dividends. What will happen now is, again, to the dividend portfolio, you will see that the share count went up with 1 from 88 to 89. This is how you do a dividend reinvestment automatically. Why not a different type of dividend reinvestment? Because this makes the sheet really, really complicated. And if you want to understand like what is really the return on your investment portfolio, it's really simple. Remember this statistic here? It just tells you how much cash have you deposited versus what is your current portfolio value. This is how you keep a clean view on the difference between the two, because once you start building all kinds of formulas and thinking about how to represent the reinvested dividends into stock purchases, it becomes so complicated. I was there before in this template. I all took it out again. I just wanted to keep it simple. Hence, this is what I'm providing you with in this template. Now, last but not least, there is also something still as stock splits. This doesn't really honestly work yet in the template very well because it makes it really complicated. But for instance, Apple did a stock split not too long. So what you could do here, you could do the split. You identify it as a split. The only thing you need to do here is from Apple. Let's say I owned it on the Hero. You just say that if I had 10 shares, that I got 20 additional shares because it increased from 10 to 30. Nothing else, you don't fill in this, and it will show your new share count now. There is a catch to this. You will need to manually update a little bit something in the portfolio template, but this is it. This is how you add every single transaction that you make in your portfolio and log it into the G sheet that you see in front of you. Okay, so let's go to the next step because we're almost there. We still have to make few little configurations to the portfolio dashboard so that all the statistics will be nicely displayed for you. Okay, so the first thing we need to do still from a configuration point is here. You will know what your projected annual dividend income needs to be at retirement. In this case, it's pre-configured with 40,000 euro. But let's assume that it needs to be 50,000 euro. What can we do? We double click the graph, or you go to the three dots and then you say add a chart. And based on this, you can now here change the configuration. So where do you do that? You do that in the gauge, you click it and it drops down. You see the minimum range and the maximum range. So let's change this to 50,000 euro. There we go. And we say that the range color needs to also go off the maximum to 50,000 because we want to have this nice color here, as you can see. And here you can also change the other colors and the range. So this shows you you're really clear to your fire meter. And here it shows you you're still in the beginning. You can all configure that here. So that's the first kind of configuration we need to do. So the second one is actually quite easy because if we go now to the dividend income, you see here, for instance, the year-over-year comparison, 2020, 2021 and 2022, but it's not 2022 now yet. So how do we change this? For that to change and to give you the right years, you go to the raw data statistics tab. And in here, you can change the starting year for which you would like to see the figures. So let's change 2020 to 2019. In this case, you will see here now 2020, 2021, and here you will see the same in the quarterly dividends. And into the annual dividend income, we can do something to the same here. It switches now all the numbers. If we now go to the dashboard, you will see that it's now showing 2019 versus 2020 and 2021. That's it. That's the only thing you need to configure here. Now there are still a few little catches here. So if you want to have a nice graph here as the holding value from large to small, what you can do easily is you go to your dividend portfolio, you select here the current value, you say sort from large to small, and if all is well, you will see now on the dashboard a nice graph with all these numbers. You can do the same if you want to sort it by tax adjusted yield or the total dividends received. You do that also on the dividend portfolio worksheet. Now maybe one more thing actually, if you want to change your portfolio progress, because it says now 2 to 3%, because this is defined based on the current dividend income, this figure will change when you go to the reference data and change this value. So let's assume that your fire portfolio will be on 100,000. In that case, you will see that this number updates here, and now you see that suddenly you're above 15%. So this is clearly linked to your portfolio goal, and you define that on the reference data sheet. Now then there's one more thing that you might want to consider. Here you see the portfolio value over time, and this one is a little bit more complicated because once in 3 months, once a quarter, I update here, I take a snapshot of the portfolio value. As you can see, since June 2019 until now, we have had different snapshots. September still needs to come. In this case, all the formulas are already set for you, so you shouldn't need to do anything. It will take it automatically. But in case you need to do something here, because for instance, for column N is not defined yet, again, you just drag it and you change here the date till, let's say, September, December, so end of March, 31 March. And based on that date, on 31 March, it will populate all the values of the stock price at that day. Well, there's a catch here. If the 31st of March is on a Sunday, which I believe it isn't now, but let's assume it would have been on a Sunday, it might be wise to put it on the last Friday of the month. Why? Well, Google might not always return the share price on a weekend because there's no trading happening. Hence, you could better do it on the Friday, and that will avoid seeing 0 here as a potential value for a stock like Apple. That's it. If you configure that here, and if you make sure that that template is maintained, your portfolio value will always show nicely how it has been developing over time. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Of course, this was more an instruction video, not so much like my stock analysis video, but I believe that this template will be really useful for you, specifically if you're using a lot of foreign stocks in your portfolio, even if it's just one, because this template might just be the solution for you. Feel free to edit it forward. I consider it a bit open source. So if you have any suggestions, additions, just share with me your work. I might include it then into the template going forward. On the other end, I try to keep it simple as well, but hey, I'm always open for suggestions. So you can grab your template by just signing up to my blog, leaving your email address here. You will then get a link to the template, and then you can just copy it and use it for your own purpose. Hey, that's it for me. Remember, if you went this far to the video, then I would really appreciate a subscribe and a like, and feel also free to share it with any other person you know. Just tag me and I'll be more than happy. Have a great day.